Hi, this is Magda from Wnętrza. This time I'll show you some furnishings and solutions that can be frustrating in everyday life. Let's see what's worth considering during the design stage and what to pay attention to when furnishing your interior. The house we're in is a very pleasant place to live. I know this from experience because I lived here for a while. However, even in the most thoughtfully designed interiors, there are solutions that aren't necessarily optimal and may not suit everyone. If you belong to this demanding group, watch carefully. To start with, here's a solution that bothered me a bit in my black kitchen, placing the trash bins in a drawer near the corner of the kitchen. The result is that when working at this countertop, we also block access to the trash bin. And even when only one person is cooking, no one else in the household can easily get to the trash bin. And when someone is standing here, you have to ask them to move so you can throw something away. A similar situation also happens here with the dishwasher. It's not really about the other person blocking our access. It's just that when the dishwasher is open, we have limited access to the corner cabinet where the pots are stored. And although you can open it, it's not that comfortable. And the result is that often you first take the pots out onto the countertop, and only after closing the dishwasher do you put them into the cabinet. If you want to avoid this, it's better to place the dishwasher a bit farther from the corner and do the same with the bins. However, I'm aware that it's not possible to avoid this in every kitchen, so sometimes you just have to accept it. It's a different situation when it comes to upper cabinets, because once you've found a place for them, how you arrange them, where they'll be wider or narrower, is entirely up to you. And keep in mind that wider fronts, although they give us access to a larger cabinet, have the downside that the opening front sticks out over the countertop, so we have to step back to avoid blocking the front with our head. If a wide cabinet were in the corner, the front would always open above the countertop. Now it's the other way around. The wider cabinet is here, so it hits our head, and the shallower one is further back. And this isn't an ideal solution either, because when I open it, I only have access to the contents at an angle, and I can't really see what's behind this panel closest to me. On this side, in the corner, there's a wide front, and see, even when I'm standing right in the very corner of the kitchen, this front won't hit my head. It's always above the countertop. However, right here in front, there's a double-door cabinet, and although this narrower front also sticks out further than the edge of the countertop, it's still a double-door cabinet. When I'm standing in the middle, the fronts perfectly miss my head, and I don't have to move back either. Honestly, this is my favorite type of upper cabinet. Very often I notice that even in nicely designed kitchens, the refrigerator door opens on the less intuitive side. Here, it's actually good, because while working at the countertop, we can immediately open the fridge and have easy access to everything. However, it often happens that the refrigerator door opens the other way. In this case, it would open toward the living room, but the worst is when it opens toward the walls. When the fridge is at the end of the kitchen, in the corner, here we have a wall. And when we open the fridge just a little, we still can't see anything, because we can't stand where the wall is. So we have to open it very wide to finally see what's inside. If you have this setup at home, just reverse the door. There are caps up here, and you can just move the hinges so that the fridge opens in the way that's most convenient for you. It's that simple. And of course, there are models where you can't reverse the door. That's true. Especially with the more decorative ones, but those refrigerators are in the minority. And that's why, when buying a refrigerator, just pay attention to whether your model happens to be one of those exceptions where the door can't be reversed. Because once you buy it, well, you're out of luck. There's nothing you can do about it afterwards. But the vast majority of refrigerators are flexible in this regard, so take advantage of this option, because it's a shame to waste your life walking around the refrigerator door. Very often, small sinks are chosen for small bathrooms and guest toilets, and often there's really no need for that. See, a larger model would easily fit here because there's still plenty of space between the sink and the door. When we decide on a small sink, we give up the comfort of washing our hands. Because washing your hands in such a small space without splashing the whole area around isn't that easy. It's definitely better to use the space we have to choose the most comfortable model that will fit there. Now we want to enter the bathroom, but let's imagine it's night and we want to turn on the light. That's why we first have to come here, turn on the light, and only then go around the door to get inside. It's not very convenient. It would definitely be better if the switch was here. However, it's not about having to move the switches every time and adjust them to the door, because sometimes the electrical system in the house is well planned. But when buying and installing a door, we don't pay attention to it and just install it the other way, which makes it inconvenient later. It would be enough to hang the door the other way around so that it opens from this side, and it would already be better. That's why keep the light switches in mind when you're installing doors in your place. And if you've already done it like here, don't worry either. You can probably get around it with smart bulbs with a remote control. You can attach the remote to the wall here and forget about that second switch. Luckily, this bathroom has skylight windows, so natural light comes in and the switch isn't needed every day. And just in case, here's a second switch for the light above the mirror, which can help if we forget to use the one outside. But what do I want to draw your attention to here? First of all, the drawers under the sink. As you know, I love drawers. They're incredibly spacious. You can fit a ton of things in here and everything is easily accessible. I honestly envy it and wish I had something like this at home. But what I just can't stand, from my perspective, are the push-to-open drawers under the sink. I don't know how you manage with those. People who are happy with those drawers, do you really never have to lean over here, bend down to the mirror? All it takes is to lean over a little and the drawer opens right away. You can't lean against that cabinet because the drawer just pops out immediately. For me, it's very frustrating and I definitely recommend drawers with some kind of handle under the sink instead. They can be milled at the top so nothing will stick out, but we'll still be able to grab and open them normally. With push-to-open drawers, it's not so easy to avoid them sliding out when we don't want them to. We all probably know plenty of stories about professionals who didn't do a good job, and here we have another example of that. The tiler came to lay a few more tiles when the mirror was already hung. The mirror wasn't measured in relation to where the tiles would be, but you can always rehang the mirror. That's not a big problem. However, the tiler decided to adjust to the hanging mirror, and here in the corner he cut the tiles in such a way that now it's probably not worth rehanging the mirror anymore. Because that cut will be very visible and it won't look nice. Here by the sink, at first glance everything seems okay, but when we turn on the water, we can hear the faucet hitting the tile. Remember, the faucet moves, so its size when at rest might not be accurate, and it's worth allowing a bit more space. Black finishes in the bathroom are generally a controversial topic because of lime scale buildup. And here we have an example of a black shower base, which also has an uneven surface, a bit like brushed granite. And here you can actually see that there are white limescale deposits, and it's really hard to clean them off. However, do black finishes make the shower look unattractive? In my opinion, no. That's why it all depends on what matters to you and how important such sterile cleanliness is for you. Now something less obvious, which fortunately is the easiest to replace, the toilet paper holder. When we use it, it shakes because its metal base is uneven and it simply wobbles on the floor. It's very unpleasant, it irritates me. And I think that if there was a rug in this spot, then on the rug this problem wouldn't exist anymore. However, in the bathroom, let's be honest, hardly anyone has carpeting. Rugs, if there are any, are usually in the middle, not necessarily under the toilet paper holder. That's why when you're buying, it's worth checking in the store if this problem won't occur. But maybe it doesn't bother you, so first make sure to figure out your own taste, and then just adjust your purchases to match it. That's all for this video. Remember to subscribe to Wnętrza, preferably with the bell on, so you'll know right away about new episodes. And check out our online store, where you'll find a book full of interior design inspiration straight from Polish homes. See you next time. Bye bye.